Emma, a 10-year-old girl with silky hair that has now faded from chemotherapy, still has a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Since being diagnosed with blood cancer, her world has shrunk within the white walls of the hospital. In the last days of the year, when the streets were bustling with lights and laughter, Emma could only sit quietly by the window of the hospital room, looking through the frosted glass to see the dim silhouette of a large Christmas tree in the hospital yard. In those moments, her heart couldn't help but throb with sadness. Emma remembers previous festive seasons, when the whole family gathered together, laughed and talked, and counted down the time to New Year's Eve. Now, the silence of the hospital room made her feel more clearly the loneliness. But even so, Emma did not let herself fall. She sat on the bed, her little hands carefully opening the notebook where she recorded her funny pictures and simple dreams. One of them is the desire to go home, be healthy and play with friends. Occasionally, Emma would look out into the hallway where the nurses and doctors passed, and they would smile warmly every time they caught sight of her. That made Emma feel somewhat comforted, as if she wasn't completely alone in this fight. Deep down, Emma knew that despite her difficult circumstances, she still wanted to believe in miracles. Homesickness and sadness are fleeting, but underneath it is a brave heart and a spirit of constant hope for a better tomorrow. On the last night of the year, the atmosphere in the hospital was quieter than usual, but Emma still felt the transformation of a special moment. The bell of the clock in the distant corridor rang from time to time, as if to remind that time was passing towards New Year's Eve. In the hospital room, a gentle yellow light covered Emma's small face, highlighting her blank eyes looking out the window. The little girl sighed slightly. Her mood was heavy with an indescribable sadness. She remembers years ago, on New Year's Eve, the whole family sat together on the porch, watched the brilliant fireworks in the sky and shared New Year's wishes. But now, Emma could only watch the glimmer of light from afar, feeling like the whole world was out of reach. However, Emma still struggles with herself in her heart. She didn't want her parents to feel sad or disappointed. "I have to try," Emma said to herself, clenching her hands as if to give her strength. She tried to smile every time her parents entered the room, trying to keep the air less heavy. But when they left, the smile faded, leaving a little girl sitting quietly with her own thoughts. In those moments, fear flashed through Emma's mind. Fear that she wouldn't be able to overcome her illness, fear that this would be one of her last New Year's Eve seasons. But soon after, she brushed off that thought, replacing it with a reminder. Just believe and try, miracles will come. Emma looked up at the little pine tree that her parents and nurses had decorated for her. The twinkling lights on the tree were like a ray of hope, lighting up the hidden corners of her soul, helping Emma feel warmer on the cold year-end night. As the last day of the year progresses, Emma is unaware that her parents and the nurses have been quietly planning for a surprise. They wanted to give Emma a special New Year's Eve, even though it was within the four walls of the hospital. That afternoon, while Emma was napping, her mother carefully hung a flickering lamp around the head of the bed, while her father quietly placed a small pine tree in the corner of the room, decorated with colorful orbs and twinkling stars at the top. The nurses were also enthusiastically involved. One brought a pretty little ice cream cake, which was inscribed, "Happy New Year, Emma." Others prepare party hats and blowing whistles to make the atmosphere more fun. Everything was arranged neatly and discreetly so that Emma wouldn't find out. When Emma woke up, the room had become strange. The light from the shimmering lamp illuminated the corner of the wall, making her eyes open wide in astonishment. "What's going on?" Emma asked softly, sitting up on the bed. At that moment, her parents walked in with a bright smile. "Surprise! We're going to celebrate New Year's Eve together right here," said her mother, her voice full of warmth. Emma looked around in a daze, and then her pretty little lips smiled slightly. "Really?" the little girl whispered, her eyes shining with happiness. The nurses also walked in, bringing cakes and small gifts. One of them handed Emma a bright yellow party hat, saying, "Tonight, you're the star of this party." The whole room was filled with laughter and warmth. Emma feels love and care from everyone. For the first time after months of grueling treatment, she found herself living in a moment of joy, forgetting about pain and anxiety. The party was small, but it was filled with love, and for Emma, it was more precious than any gift in the world. The atmosphere in the hospital room became more lively than ever when everyone came together to chat, laugh, and enjoy rare moments of joy. The nurses and doctors took turns telling funny stories, which made Emma laugh out loud, a sound that her parents had heard a long time ago. A few other pediatric patients from the next rooms were also invited to participate, bringing bright smiles and eagerness. Emma looked around, and saw that everyone was immersed in the festive atmosphere. A nurse skillfully played some New Year's music on a small speaker, creating a lively melody that echoed throughout the room. Another doctor, who was known to be strict, even wore a party hat and did some funny dance moves that made the whole room laugh. Emma couldn't help but clapping her hands with delight, feeling like all her worries and fatigue were dissipating in that warm atmosphere. Emma's parents took her hand, their eyes full of love and emotion. "You see, Emma, wherever we are, we can find joy and happiness," her mother whispered, her voice choked up but gentle. Emma nodded, feeling the strength from the people around her. Everyone in the room brings a small part of themselves, a smile, a word of encouragement, or simply a presence, to make this New Year's Eve a memorable memory. Although it is not a big or extravagant party, the love and solidarity between everyone has made this place a space full of life and hope. Emma feels that she is not alone, but is surrounded by a big embrace of family, friends, and people who have always been by her side on this difficult journey. As the clock moves toward 12, the air in the hospital room seems to calm down, but not because of the silence, but because everyone is waiting for the special moment. The light from the flickering light on the small pine tree shimmers even more, shining on the radiant faces of Emma and everyone around her. Emma's father looked at the watch in his hand, then turned to signal. Her mother gently held her daughter's hand, a gentle smile on her lips. "Emma, it's almost time," she said, her eyes filled with hope. Emma nodded, feeling her heart beating faster. When the clock rang, everyone shouted, "Happy New Year!" The party whistles sounded in unison, and best wishes for Emma were sounded from everyone in the room. A nurse walked over and gently handed Emma a small bouquet of pure white chrysanthemums. "We all believe that the new year will bring you miracles," she said in an emotional voice. Emma felt her heart warmer than ever. She looked around, saw that all eyes were on her with deep care and love. At that moment, Emma no longer felt like she was just a little girl battling illness. She seemed to become the center of a circle of light and hope, where everyone shared their faith in a good new year. Laughter erupted when a doctor suddenly blew a red balloon and drew a smiley face on it. The ball is passed from one hand to another, carrying joy and positive energy that spreads throughout the room. Emma closed her eyes slightly and wished in her heart, "I hope I will get better, so that I can spend many more New Year's Eve nights with everyone." It was a sacred moment where the simplicity of love and solidarity transcended any pain or loss, lit up Emma's little heart and gave her a great hope. When the laughter had not stopped, the door of the hospital room suddenly opened, and a group of doctors entered, each with a bright smile on their faces. Leading the way is Dr. Wilson, who has been directly in charge of treating Emma all this time. In his hand was a document that her parents were familiar with, the latest test results. "Emma," said Dr. Wilson, his voice deep but full of emotion, "we have important news to share with you and your family at this special time." All eyes in the room were directed towards him, and the air seemed to be quiet, leaving only waiting. Emma sat up straight on the bed, her small hands clutching her mother's hand, a feeling of nervousness rising in her chest. Dr. Wilson smiled, his eyes shining with joy. "The latest results show that my body has responded very well to the treatment regimen. The cancer cells have been significantly controlled, and this means that he is on the road to recovery. If he continues to maintain his spirit and work hard in treatment, the possibility of him being completely healthy is very high." The whole room seemed to explode with joy. Emma's mother burst into tears, hugging her tightly, tears of happiness rolling down her cheeks. Her father stood next to her, her trembling hand to wipe her eyes, but she couldn't hide her bright smile. The nurses clapped their hands and congratulated Emma with emotional hugs. Emma was stunned for a few seconds, and then her lips showed the brightest smile anyone had ever seen. "Can you really get better?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Yes, Emma," Dr. Wilson nodded. "You're a strong warrior, and you're winning. We are all very proud of him." Emma felt her heart burst with happiness. She looked up at her parents, then turned to the doctors and nurses, her eyes full of gratitude. "Thank you," she said quietly, but it contained all of her deepest feelings. The good news was like a warm fire, spreading throughout the room, lighting up New Year's Eve and bringing hope to everyone. For Emma, it is not only the beginning of a new year, but also the beginning of a new journey. A journey of hope, strength, and faith in a bright future. Emma sat motionless for a few seconds, seemingly still unable to believe what she had just heard. Her eyes widened, she looked at Dr. Wilson, then turned to her parents as if looking for affirmation. Seeing the bright smiles on their faces, Emma burst into tears. The little girl put her hand up to cover her mouth, tears quietly spilling out, not because of sadness, but because of the joy that she had been holding for so long. The hope that she had been holding for so long now became a reality. "Really, Mom? Can you really get better?" Emma asked softly, her voice trembling. Her mother, unable to hold back her emotions, bent down and hugged her daughter in her arms, tears running down her cheeks. "That's right, Emma. You have done a great job. Your child is very resilient. This is the greatest gift we can receive." Emma's father stood by him, trying to stay calm, but his red eyes denounced his feelings. He put his hand on Emma's shoulder, his voice choked up. "Daddy's daughter, you are our greatest pride. We'll get through it all together, you know." Emma nodded repeatedly, her eyes sparkling with determination. "I'll try. I promise," she said aloud. For the first time in many months, the innocent smile on Emma's face returned, radiant and full of life. The nurses and doctors around could not hide their emotions. A young nurse wiped away her tears and said to Emma, "You have inspired us so much, Emma. Let's continue to be strong like that." Emma's parents sat on the side of the bed, holding her hand tightly, as if to infuse her with more strength and love. The whole family in that moment felt as if all difficulties had been somewhat eased. The good news is not only a New Year's gift, but also a bright light that illuminates the way for them, helping them gain more faith to move forward together. Emma looked up at the little Christmas tree in the corner of the room, the lights twinkling like stars in the sky. The little girl whispered softly, "New Year, I will win. Thank you everyone for always being with me." That word was like a promise to herself and to all those who loved her. That New Year's Eve, for Emma's family, was not only a special night, but also the beginning of hopes and miracles. New Year's Eve that year became an unforgettable memory for Emma, her family, and everyone present. It is not only a night that marks the transition of time, but also a symbol of the power of love, resilience, and hope. In the four walls of the hospital, which is often shrouded in pain and fatigue, the light of faith has flared up brightly, spreading and touching every heart. For Emma, that night was the beginning of a new journey, a journey that she no longer had to walk alone. The love and encouragement of her parents, nurses, doctors, and everyone around her became a great source of strength, helping her believe that she could overcome her illness. The little pine tree in the corner, the simple ice cream cake, the songs and the smiles, all carry a clear message. Even in the most difficult of circumstances, joy and hope can still sprout if we hold hands and share. For Emma's parents, the good news they received in that special moment was the most precious gift, far beyond anything they had ever expected. It reminds them that love and family bonding can work miracles, bringing light even when things seem darkest. For doctors and nurses, that moment is not only a joy but also an affirmation of their relentless efforts. They realize that their work is not only about healing their bodies, but also about lighting hope in the hearts of patients and their families. On that New Year's Eve, everyone present learned a profound lesson. Life, no matter how difficult, always hides miracles. Solidarity, love, and trust are the keys to opening doors that seem closed. And in the twinkling light of the new year, everyone carries a glimmer of hope that tomorrow will be brighter, stronger, and more meaningful. The last message from that New Year's Eve is not only a reminder of human resilience, but also a strong encouragement for everyone who is facing difficulties and challenges in life. It is an affirmation that even through the darkest of moments, the light of hope is always there, always available if we never give up. New Year's Eve in the hospital showed Emma and her family that while life can be grim, difficulties can never rob her of the power of love and solidarity. It is a lesson of tireless perseverance, that even if illness or challenges cause us to fall, we can still get up and continue to fight with the help of those around us. That message is not only for Emma, but for everyone. Never lose faith in life. Even when thunderstorms come, we can still find peace in small and precious moments. And every step, no matter how small, is a big victory, contributing to a brighter future. Emma, with the light in her eyes and a bright smile, is the most vivid proof of this. She has learned that life is not just about days without illness, but about how we live in every moment, about how we love and give to those around us. It is the invisible power that helps each of us overcome all the turbulence. For Emma, New Year's Eve is not only a transition between the old year and the new year, but also the beginning of a new chapter in life, a hopeful, warm, and loving chapter. And for all of us, the final message from this story is, always believe in miracles, because life always gives us second chances, if we are willing to open our hearts and embrace them.